Marketer, and we've been taking a conversation about the native Hawaiians to this national arena for the last few years. And under the heading, the workshops where we began these dialogues were called Righting Unrightable Wrongs. Because the premise is that we, parade the world as this great moral policeman, and yet there are unrightable wrongs within our nation that we fail to address. We sugarcoat them. We go, let bygones be bygones. The trouble with bygones is it produces historic trauma. And people get affected by this trauma in a real physical sense. And you see it. You see indigenous populations at the lowest end of the bottom rung of society in terms of health, both mental, emotional health, physical health, and an inability to cope with the institutionalized systems that they encounter. And it's really interesting. The newest conversations are pointing to the possibility that these biochemical reactions, stressors, the cortisol that's produced in your system is in fact playing a major role in this, and that certain people suffer from historic trauma from the events, such as the minorities, African Americans, Native Americans, certainly Native Hawaiians, and that's just a small sample of the list, right, of things. But what I think is interesting, I think everybody suffers from historic trauma. I think of this country, the United States of America. I think of the structure. Most of, modern day urban Americans can't recall beyond 3 generations of their family, don't know the history. Actually, it prompted, by the systems and the institutionalized education to forget about those past. Forget about, the Europe that you came from. You're Americans now. This is a new society. And it's yes, you only get a half an hour lunch, and we're thinking about 12-hour work days, 6 days a week. That structure doesn't exist in the land of your forefathers. Everybody on the planet is indigenous. Every single person, right? Who isn't? Who isn't from the planet Earth? So I'm thinking, that what we need to do is reconnect them to their roots. Everybody has ancestors. I'm sitting with, Berkeley students, people on the Bay Area who are coming to a wildlife wilderness experience camp and course because they're looking for a connection, searching for the Native Americans in order to find their way back to some kind of more natural world. Hey, that's all in reaction to the institutionalized life that we're all victims of. Their ancestors are just as wonderful. Gosh, even if Hitler then were following some, crazed Bavarian myth that was made up by a composer, it still got color. Somewhere in Transylvania, the Romanovs and the Romani, right there, that have left India and gone on this great journey that we call the Gypsy Wanderings. It's like, what a culture. Hungarians, arguably, Poland and, the most occupied countries in Eastern Europe constantly, and yet they preserve their cultural heritage. They know who they are, great achievements in music and science, and they're all indigenous and, largely ignored when you come to America. Why? Why do we need to be a homogenized nation? Why can't we celebrate diversity? Why can't diversity be the thing that unifies us? Since it seems to be in nature, right? If there's a right kind of leaf, there would only be one kind of tree, one kind of leaf, one kind of fish, right? The right one. The rest of them would be wrong.
This is so great. I gotta stop for the chainsaw.
I'm just ranting.
No.
The permaculturing and attending to the community stuff and the soft science and the soft side of bringing people together. It's maikai, it's really good. It's a pleasure to see human beings engaging in a way that doesn't have the usual form or pay off. It's a sharing thing. That's cool. 50th birthday would come along, and after that I would get quiet, real quiet. I keep threatening to anyway. And I'm thinking it's like, say the things you need to say, and then let it go, because, I'm a student of letters at times, and there are many from the Eastern philosophies who have a sentiment that goes as this: those who speak do not know, and those who know do not speak. And I think that there's an ever so small kernel of grace in that statement, and I'd like to go there through my silence, so I don't mind that. This place, again, it's the kind of place I think you could do that. You can find a quiet little corner here in Hawaii. Try to make it your own. That's important, really important. But anyway, I digress.
We were, when the chainsaw started up, you were talking about diversity and...
order of the day and all that, how diversity should be the order of the day. Yeah, I think so. It's we were remarking about how the institutional structure seems to compartmentalize people's ideas, both by class, education, nationality, ethnicity, and then we try to override that as a country by saying, but you're all Americans, and homogenizing that approach to it, even so much as to, say to those who are the descendants of the immigrants of the 1800s, hey, you can just forget about that, but you're Americans now, you don't need to worry about that past. You're here, and like I said, most American families, have a hard time remembering more than 3 generations, 4 generations, tough nuclear families, and yet, they're traumatized, like we say, historic trauma. They've been cut off. They've been turned into these work machines. And why can't we reconnect with our individual cultures? I don't think there's anything wrong with having that individual cultural identity and that expression and that tie, which takes you back to indigenous, knowledge. Like I said earlier, everyone on the planet is indigenous. We all come from planet Earth. So, that being the case, you can find your own richness in your own culture and who you are. And that's the beauty of it, is who you are. And who you are is unique, absolutely unique. Like we talked about diversity being the order of the day. It's true in the universe. I mean, no 2 snowflakes, grains of sand, You can have twins, same DNA. You can't prove which one committed the murder by DNA, but you can by fingerprints. Why aren't they the same? Yeah, and the retina. Oh, I don't know. When you do a filing system, you usually have to code things individually because, somebody's keeping track. It's some kind of record. So that means individual expression is not only allowed, it's encouraged. So that being the case, I think we should celebrate our diversity. Our uniqueness is what makes us the same. It's always the same. It's always changing and ever unique and individualistic, and that's what makes the sameness beautiful.
Tell me, just in terms of putting it in the context of Jason's place here and what you're doing here, or maybe we could begin. Could you introduce yourself for this bit? Maybe in terms of your work and also your work with the band. So who are you and what do you do?
My name is M. Kalani Souza, Matthew Kalani. My Hawaiian name is Maka'io Kalani Kiuilani Koko. And I've been working in conflict resolution, facilitation, mediation, peacemaking for some time, and taking a little time off to work on music and art and things of the spirit and things of the soul. And that's probably why I appreciate Jason's place. It really feeds the soul and gives me an outlet. And yet we have some amazing conversations about sustainable communities and about building strong permaculture and self-sufficiency with the land, and yet keeping our artistic expression and our intellectual pursuits alive. And that's a very good thing. So I really enjoy, being in this space with him. And I've taken a leave from conflict resolution and facilitation, mediation training, and working on music, with some other fellows. And that in itself requires conflict resolution skills. But I love the collaboration. It seems to me that whenever I participate with others freely, and really in an equal partnership on some project, thought, writing, whatever it would be, it's richer. Somehow in the space between the other individual and myself, the universe finds a way of leaking in, and coloring things so that they're beyond either of our expectations, and if we just stay open to it. So it's really been a good experience with the band. And we've been doing a cultural show, Lessons of the Ha, which takes 10 Hawaiian terms and their kauna, the inside meanings, and we describe them and place them within song and story and share them with people. And it's been a fabulous adventure, performing at the theater. The theater is warm, it's inviting, and he has all the accoutrements, nice sound system, great lighting, good stage, fabulous staff, crew, nice kitchen, always a plus, and someplace where you can lay your head in the wee hours, and that we like. So mahalo, Jason. Mahalo nui, appreciate it very much.
Would you set up what we were talking about? Like a lot of people on the mainland think of Hawaii as Waikiki or just a vacation, but there's a lot more here.
Absolutely. Hey, one of the reasons we enjoy coming up to Volcano, to his place, is you get to see, as they say in Old Hawaii, the kua'aina, the backland. The place, the lands without a chief. So it's more of the natural, wild Hawaii. I mean, most folks come from the mainland. They come from Nebraska or Wisconsin or Idaho, and they're wonderful states. And they come to Waikiki. They land in Honolulu. They take a little taxi ride along the Ala Moana Boulevard, past the Aloha Tower and the liners, and they go to Waikiki. They check into a hotel. They go, well, what do you mean the reservation's not ready? Whatever. And they get checked into the room at 2 o'clock. They go down to the beach. They experience that maddening crowd, greased up from the suntan lotion, nudging each other around, reminiscent of elephant seals in California, basking in the sunlight. And they return home after a 5-day trollop through this little 2-mile stretch of Oahu and think that they've experienced Hawaii. And I would just like to offer up that something like this that Jason's doing and is much closer to the Hawaiian lifestyle, to the idea that real people from all over the world living together, building community, a sense of self-sufficiency and self-sustainability, a sense of connectedness to the land, to each other, to their stories. It's brilliant. It's beautiful. It's nothing short of what I think was the American dream.
Beautiful. Could you just lay it out really bare bones for me that people don't, and I think this is really
right.
true. People don't realize that there's an Hawaiian language.
Oh.
That there are still Hawaiian people.
Right.
It's not just a Disneyland thing.
Right.
I think you're in a unique position to speak to that, don't you?
I think so.
Okay. So, what do a lot of people not know about Hawaii?
The interesting thing about Hawaii, and I really believe this to be true, is most people are unaware of native Hawaiians and the fact that Hawaii was at one time its own country. We had a 98% literacy rate, We're first electric power plant in the United States on Powerhouse Road in Kauai, hydropower. The first cowboys in the country. Brilliant health care. Hawaii was a thriving nation, and that all went away. And I think most people are unaware of the history of Hawaii or what occurred, or unaware of Native Hawaiian people, or the fact that we are still here. We did not go anywhere. This is the homeland. You know, we're still practicing our culture. We still speak our language. We still play our songs, and we speak everybody else's language. You know, and we play music and sing songs and tell stories from all over the world. Just as we grow and plant anything from all over the world, this is an amazing, amazing place. Quite possibly the most amazing place in the world. And I don't say that because I'm from here. I've been around the world a couple of times. You know, this place still amazes me daily, each morning. The rain, the mist, the wind, the clouds, the sea, the birds, the plants, the people. The people. Amazing.
So, what what is Sugar Daddy known for? It's a rock band, and it's
well, Sugar Daddy is a Hawaiian rock band. That's actually the whole name, Sugar Daddy, a Hawaiian rock band. And we didn't know any other way to describe what we do. We hold on to ourselves as Hawaiians. We have no intention of moving to San Francisco, you know, to make a big break. We're just going to play music independently here in Hawaii. Great musicians from all over, you know, and many colors, many faces, many sizes, many flavors, you know, and still somehow gelling. And we talk about things in Hawaii, I believe, as they are. You know, we just try to clear the mirror and hold it up, reflect what we see, you know. And as Daryl always says, our bass player, we're not trying to provoke, we're just trying to evoke. You know, we're just asking the questions, I think, that need to be asked. And maybe through some dialogue and responsible conversation, you know, we'll find the answers.
Are you familiar at all with what Jason is thinking about for Campbell High School in Eva Beach?
No, I don't, but I know Campbell High School. I mean, my mom lives out there in Waipahu.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. And Mike is from Campbell, our sax player.
He was talking about that, and so I want to talk to him.
Yeah.
And I visited on my way.
Yeah, I mean, I worked with the guy Benjamin who was coaching the basketball team and stuff out there. I used to surf down that beach, Howbush. They sold it. They're going to build a hotel. It's a shame. Yeah, Fort Weaver Road. That's too funny. Yeah. Silver Store.
He's going to try to bring a program, sort of this natural farming program, to work into the ag program there already.
Great.
And also sort of green the campus.
Wow.
And with the cultural component, especially the Hawaiian kids, to sort of connect back.
That'd be a great thing, you know. You gotta look at Waipahu too, which one time was a huge agricultural school. You know, which is right the next school over, the next school district. But Campbell, I know, because Campbell has small learning communities. It's a charter school consortium, so they're doing new things. I can even hook him up with the vice principal. You know, he probably is, you know what I mean? But it's like these guys who are doing stuff. I think that's a brilliant thing. I think that's a brilliant, brilliant thing. Okay. You know what I mean? And that kind of awareness at that age, you know, at puberty, they open up the possibility of natural resources as natural science and natural capitalism, and to teach kids that they have the ability to become self-sufficient and self-sustaining. That kind of modeling, dead on cue.
Excellent. Let me check my cheat sheet.
Look at this bowl sitting out here all alone.
Don't keep the talent waiting.
So okay. Man, I'm usually on that side of the camera. So tell me. That's why I'm being verbose, and I'm sorry. I'm trying to like give you breathing stops and things to.
Oh, you're perfect. You're perfect. Okay. Very important one. Your mom talked to me about the Kalo field. And would you sort of introduce your mom, maybe?
Yeah, my mother. Yeah, her name is Lorraine Angeline Maeda, which is interesting because she doesn't have a Hawaiian name. And I think she always wanted one. But that was for her own protection, my understanding goes. my tutukane was her uncle, who was my granduncle, was Kalanikeo Nui, and he actually hanai'd my mom and her sisters and brother after her mother died in Honolulu and out to Maui, and they were raised in Wailua Nui. And I guess his wife, my mother's aunt, was not a big fan of my mom, and so things were a little rough between them. You know, old people style. So my mom left and came to Honolulu after she was finally old enough, and after some adventures and a couple of stillborn children had me. My grandfather said that, you know, he weaved a little kahi, a small spell, to ensure that, so that I would be born alive and remain alive, and not my siblings who did not survive apparently died within minutes of childbirth. So they say in Hawaii, a nana, you know, an old curse. So my grandfather lifted it. My mother has a daughter and 3 sons of her own, and she raised 3 other sons. But my sister has a Hawaiian name, a kapu Hawaiian name, and I have a kapu Hawaiian name. My 2 younger brothers were not supposed to have Hawaiian names, so it's interesting, you know, the way they do that. And then we learned things Hawaiian, and they did not. It's very interesting, you know. And yet we grew up together. We just had different tracks or paths of learning, you might say, you know. But they're still all Hawaiian at heart, and they certainly are Hawaiian. My mom grew up in Keanai, Maui, you know, on the taro patches with my grandfather, Kalanikeo Nui, and fishing. We used to work in those taro patches when we were kids, you know, sent in. You go every summer to live with grandfather, and that's where you learn to fish, learn to hunt, learn to grow, learn to identify plants. It's a very nice experience. So on the backside of Maui, rainforest, a lot like this place.
Did you notice how she reacted when she saw the taro here?
Oh, you know, my mom. See, I keep trying to get her to encourage her to move here, so I'm so glad she came to Jason's place and saw the taro fields, because she's living in Honolulu now. You know, somebody convinced her she was old and she needed to live in the big city. You know, what she really needs to do is be out here on the land, because when she saw the kalo, she just like lit up. And like, you know, start talking about this. Oh yeah, you know, then you do this with the huli, and you know, just blah, blah, blah. Next thing you know, talk stories. She's telling us all kinds of information. When they get to be that old, the kupuna, we should bring them back to a place like this. Let them walk around and remember things. Let the opio, the young children, walk around with them and hear them remember things. And that's how the learning gets passed on, yeah? That's what we need. So all it requires is a sense of place where it's comfortable and it's going on. So again, you know, much props to Jason for creating a kind of space where this can happen.
Yes, so God, we can talk for days and days and days. Is there anything else you'd like to include for this little short?
No.